Nebraska came into this series on a 5-game winning streak. She hit a .471 batting average, 2 home runs, a couple RBIs, so she was hot coming into this series, and she's continuing it here against Wisconsin. Pitch to the inside on the righty batter, an aggressive batter, swinging at everything and anything.
Swing and a miss. A strikeout for Jacobson.
68th strikeout of the year. Need that to turn down the momentum from the Cornhuskers.
We are currently, no joke, in a tornado watch here in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm Vince Hesprick with Johnny Rader. Now, Johnny, these teams are very even, but the Wolverines have really had their way with the Badgers in the past.
Yeah, the Wolverines absolutely have had the Badgers' number, whether it's a conference season series or being knocked out in the tournament. The Wolverines have always found their way on the good side of the coin, but still a huge opportunity with both teams hovering around 500 in the conference to make a statement in front of the home crowd today.
Yeah, Wisconsin comes in with the better record in conference play. They're 7-8 to Michigan's 6-9, but the stats very similar for these teams, Johnny, particularly on offense.
Yeah, both of these teams are capable of scoring and scoring fast. 58 home runs for Michigan this season, but both of these teams are having a little bit of trouble with pitching depth, and that's what is separating these two teams from the top half of the conference. Where this game is probably going to be won, though, is infield defense. It's been a struggle recently for the Badgers, and one of the strengths that Coach Thole has pointed as a consistent part of this Michigan Wolverine squad.
And, Johnny, you talk about pitching. Right now, Michigan allowing 7 runs a game in the conference season. That said, those numbers overall have been halfway decent for them. Now look at the Badgers' defense. They're definitely improved, but, Johnny, they also struggled last time out against Nebraska.
Yeah, you mentioned the struggle recently. Game 3 against Nebraska was self-inflicted mistakes from the infield to allow the avalanche of base runners, teeing up a grand slam from Jordy Fromm. It's going to have to take a great effort from Conger and Olivia Bark to be able to field these softballs cleanly and get out of these innings without any damage done.
And now to Michigan's batting order, they really have some nice talent from top to bottom.
Yeah, this team knows how to get on base, that's for sure. They're an explosive batting order that has scored double digits several times, and that's what it took in both of their wins over Ohio State with the 2-1 series win, led by Lauren Putz.
Putz, of course, is one of the best players in the nation. This sophomore has just been dynamite all season in that 3 spot. She's 3rd in the Big Ten in RBIs, top 5 in the nation in RBIs per game. In a circle for the Badgers, that's Shelby Jacobson. Works more off-speed, but still gets a ton of strikeouts with that changeup.
A rise change type of pitcher. Jacobson started off well, keeping the Badgers within striking distance in Game 1 versus Nebraska. Just saw no offense response from the batting department, and the wheels eventually did fall off.
First pitch here from Goodman's softball complex.
Off the feed, the foul, and the 3!
The best player in the Big Ten making best player type of plays. The end one right there on the 3. 3 threes made for her so far today. They needed her on the clutch here, taking a 3-point lead with Wisconsin making a late-game push.
The late closeout by Daniels.
And Conger again makes the play.
Copy-pasted that play for the Wisconsin infield defense. Again, 2 consecutive outs to start fast here at the top of this first inning. Wisconsin, you got to be happy as well after starting 0-3 in conference play and then getting a chance to rebound against Maryland, getting that big series win against Penn State and against Purdue. Teams similarly placed with them in the conference. The Badgers have really picked up the pace here, getting back up to 7-7. You talk about changing the way she plays. How about the first at-bat, first pitch, sends that away deep into left field. Wow. Good start for the Wolverines.
And Rez, we were about to say that Stevenson hasn't homered in her last 13 games, working on the contact a bit more. Right on cue, a no-doubter from contact.
Yeah, she was 0 for 2 in the last conference game, left 2 players on base, and now she gets the redemption, sends 3 runners home. What a redemption after that Nebraska series to go 0 for 3 in Game 3, being so off, and then to come back and start in the first inning and hit a home run to get this Badger offense back into gear. Hasn't been too long since their last win, however, with that big Loyola Chicago comeback win 7-6.
Both of Wisconsin's last 2 wins have been in comeback fashion, 6-run comebacks. The one against Loyola Chicago and to close out the series against Purdue. Both of those are tied for the 2nd largest comeback in program history. Bucky waiting for the action to resume.
He's having a great time, though.
He always is.
Softball there. Wow.
As the dance party has begun at Goodman.
Synchronized.
Lacey Steele puts the Badgers up 2. Timeout, Wisconsin.
Wow. First lead of the ball game. Steele 11 points. She's made 3 threes so far. She's been the spark that the Badgers have needed.
We've talked about Lacey Steele showing up in the big moments for the Badgers. Badgers looking to respond. Bolin for 3. Good.
Nothing but net there for Bolin. That's 11 points for her on the day. That 3 was much needed.
Steele, lefty lay off the glass and in.
Every second counted that possession. Nothing was open for the Badgers. Usually there's an adjustment period for freshman pitchers going from high school batters to Big Ten batters, and especially with how good the hitters are from these teams like UCLA and Wisconsin. There really hasn't been an adjustment period for her, and she's been dominant with that 2.62 ERA. It'll be big here for Wisconsin to make a statement here in the first run through of these batters, because they just haven't been able to find answers the second and third time around and the chance to make adjustments. So getting off to this fast start will make the adjustments easier going on.
Here's the 2.
As you said, exactly the same spot and exactly the same inning. An offensive explosion for the Maryland Terrapins to get right back into this game. Great hit.
Deep 3 connects.
And that is their 5th, made 3 of the contest so far. There's the 3s. They've been attempting them, just haven't been knocking them down.
Indiana with the last shot of the third quarter.
She emphasized the mid-game adjustment to take easy pitches early on when you get them, and that was huge for getting back in that game. Going to need to make the same type of adjustments here to get back and dig out of this hole.
She's had experience at the top level of the game when it comes to winning, and she's established quite a good program here in her 3 seasons at Maryland.
Yeah, the strategy usually for this Badger squad is to set the table for her, put some players on base, and those 12 home runs really show it. And she's 12 away from the program record.
And Kayla Conway, I remember being here when she was in her final season with the Badgers, and she is probably one of the best overall players in the Badgers' history of their program. She was just getting the Barry Bonds treatment at the end, where
no better way to do it than with a Bay Conference hitter from Seymour, Wisconsin.
Seymour.
Easier one to say.
I should know this. Where is Seymour? Is that up by Green Bay area, or am I way off?
A little bit north of Brown County.
Okay. Maybe the most Midwest conversation ever happened.
Definitely a lot of farms.
The 2-1 to Weary inside.
Now you get Whitten, who just had her first career home run in Game 3 versus Nebraska to build up that offensive momentum and get some positive things going coming into this series against Michigan.
Yeah, right on cue, the graphic pops up. First career home run. That was the bright spot against Nebraska. She's played some nice defense at second base, but now the bat is what the Badgers need from her.
When she came around circling to home plate, the team was celebrating as if they were the ones up 12-2. This team is firmly together in team chemistry.
The first pitch.
Whitten has been on a roll for these last 8 innings, able to send 2 runs for the Badgers in their loss to Nebraska, but here, a great response to tie the game and get 2 Badgers in scoring position.
Both these offenses just relentless in the first inning with 2 outs. I'm Vince Hesberg with John William Rader. Marissa Mortensen is be roaming the sidelines. And Johnny, yesterday was the home opener for the Badgers, and it was a classic.
Yeah, Maryland kicked things off with the run in the first. Hillary Blomberg responded with a 3-run home run in the third. Showalter knocked home a solo home run in the fourth to grab the 4-1 lead. 5th inning, Sammy Woods helps Maryland respond, 2 runs in the 5th. But the 7th inning, things got crazy. Maryland sends 2 runners home to get the 4-3 lead. Bottom of the 7th. It was insane for the Badgers to take that walk-off.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Obstruction called for a tying run for the Badgers, and you're going to see a look at what wound up being the walk-off ground out for the Badgers. Straight to the first baseman, Mariah Penta. She checked down the runner at third, but when she stepped on first, Bojan came home, and the Badgers won it. A unique way to end what was a really exciting game.
57% from the field, 45% from 3. 3 players over 20 points. That's the rare perfect storm in the first quarter where the other team is just playing awful and you're playing your perfect ball at the same time. And it really gave them a cushion to just coast and get that win at the end of the day. They did let them get within 10 points, though. So let's see how they finish this game because they've started off hot in these games, but can they finish it strong?
Shea Chesky poured in 33 points for the Hoosiers Renee Beaumont, a career high of 24. Maya Makaluski, another one of these freshmen that's been contributing all throughout 23. And Jaya, here's a freshman for the Badgers. Steps through, and a jump ball goes back to the Hoosiers.
The Hoosiers on offense and defense have been aggressive in the paint, meeting physicality. That's something they emphasize, and so far they're executing it to great perfection. Wood's one of the better players of getting on base and running around those bases. And speaking of running around, she did try out for the women's Olympic flag football team, missing the last game of the Indiana series.
She looks to bunt here. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to make the team. But always a fun story when you do see those athletes trying and branching out to becoming 2 or even 3 sport athletes.
We know a lot about flag football here.
Really do. Woods will take the pitch outside. 2-1.
What was the score of the flag football game we played in recently?
49-23. 22, actually.
We'll leave it up to interpretation to which score was ours.
Ball outside.
And Johnny, on the topic of her, I will give you the honor of pronouncing her hometown. That's a fun one to say.
Ashwaubenon, Wisconsin, from the Fox River Classic Conference. Say it appears a little bit better, though.
1-1 up high. That's going to be the most fun city name to say, Ashwaubenon.
Well, it can be shortened to Schwabe, Ashwab.
Oh, why shorten something that beautiful?
I like to call him Schwab. The Badgers still have not beaten the Hoosiers since New Year's Eve of 2015. This is huge for Indiana. The best teams in the conference always find multiple ways to win games. They won against Northwestern with the 3-ball and shooting amazing from the field. Today, they won it by a collective effort to rebound the basketball without their best big in the game. And they shot amazing in the paint. They found the best matchups and attacked the basket with their best player, Shetsky, at the end of the game.
Looking at the stats to close this one out. 55.8% from the field for Indiana and 13 of 16 from the line. That's going to be a major difference for
Rule Hillary Blomberg. She calls game.
And she is very clearly the player of this series with her 3rd home run of the series, 2nd 3-run home run. The matchup against the freshman pitcher, you got to think that Coach Healy saw that one coming a mile away. Yeah, she came in the back end of game 1 as well. The freshman from Redding, California. And they talked a lot in game 1 about the adjustment from high school softball to college softball and pitching against these Big Ten batters. It's going to be tough, and there's definitely going to be some hits for the Badgers to have on the table. But first you'll see Riley Crane, the senior 5'7" from Tucson, Arizona. She's only been at bat 5 times so far this season.
Yeah, she's mainly being used as a defensive player. Because she really can play everywhere on this diamond. She's had infield time. She's had outfield time as well. And she's been effective in both places.
Yeah, and Coach Healy is definitely known to substitute defensively more than the average coach.
A 5 spot in the first.
And that's 3 RBIs in the last 7 innings.
Bolin. She could be skilled as a forward as she swings to Porter. Porter, the contact. She'll go to the line. The foul against Chesky.
Porter's had herself a great contest so far today, doing a little bit of everything in this contest. 5 points so far for her, but that's not the main thing here. 2 rebounds for her and a couple of steals as well. She's been the main force for that Badgers defense today.
25 minutes for Ronnie Porter.
Yeah, the Badgers had to get their footing in the conference, sitting at 2-4 going into this series against Maryland. Picked up 2 key wins to get back to 500 to win today, putting them at 5-4, putting them right back in that conversation. Yeah, the Badgers had the misfortune of opening up the conference slate with UCLA and getting swept by them. But bouncing back here in this Maryland series and getting the series win against Penn State 2-1.
The bats have really been waking up for the Badgers, along with the pitching stabilizing.
Hey, and how fast do I have to leave this building?
Yeah, strong winds. One tornado above Cottage Grove on Wednesday, and now you get basically the same type of thing here in Madison. Humidity at 67%. So it's been quite the last 3-day stretch here for Madison.
First pitch is swing and a miss.
And even softball-sized hail.
Oh, my goodness. Never in my life have I seen forecast tornado watch on a softball broadcast. I know we have the Big Ten awards, the Big Ten Plus awards coming up. If there's a best graphic category, that has to be on there.